Hello everyone, and welcome back if it's not your first time here to the Library of Phoebe. I am Phoebe, and today I want to do a little late first quarter of the year reading wrap up. This isn't all the books I've read, it's just the ones I kind of feel like talking about. I got a stack here, and then I've got a bunch of books that aren't with me that I've also read this year because some of them I love so much I felt the need to lend them out, give them away, spread the word about these wonderful books. I think we'll go in chronological order, starting with the first book I read this year to the most recent. The first book I read this year is Junky by William Burroughs. I'll insert a picture of the cover on one of these sides, whatever one fits better. This was a book club pick. It was my first book club pick. I started a book club this year just for me and my friends. Yeah, Junky was our first pick because I watched the movie Queer that came out in December. I watched it twice in December because I loved it so much. I was like, I need to read the source material, but I wanted to start with Junky because I feel like it might add some depth of understanding to my reading of Queer, which I did eventually get to. We'll get there soon. Junky is a book that basically follows this fictionalized version of William Burroughs called William Lee, maybe his like literary alter ego, as he grapples with addiction. It's a very bleak book. It's kind of has, it's like, it's encyclopedic almost in nature. It has like this tone that stays the same throughout. It's just like facts, facts, facts. This happened, this happened, this happened. And you just follow Lee as he delves deeper into addiction, comes out of it a bit, delves deeper again, moves throughout the United States and eventually to Mexico City. And all of the situations that his reliance on drugs gets him into. I rated this book 4.5 stars. I thought it was a great start to book club. It really sparked a love for Burroughs in me. It was the first Burroughs I've ever read. I absolutely adored this book, but I gave it 4.5 instead of a 5-star just because it did keep that same tone throughout. Like, there was no variation, which I feel like in a longer book would have detracted from it. But in the book of this length, it's a pretty short book. It didn't really take away, but it also didn't add something. Like, it felt like almost monotonous in a sense. Like, it was extremely interesting events happening, but because of the tone just staying completely flat, there was no dips, no valleys, no mountains of tone, that it was just the same throughout, which I think is a choice. I think that was maybe on purpose to add to this like journalistic almost feeling fiction. One more thing I wanted to add about Junky is the introduction. I got a copy with an introduction by Oliver Harris, and every Burroughs since then I've read has had an introduction by Oliver Harris that I don't skip. I love reading these introductions. They add so much, and like Harris is like honestly a great writer too. He has some banger lines in these introductions. So I really love reading those. And the next book I read, I have a physical copy of it here, but I read it on audiobook. It was my first audiobook of the year, but I do have a physical copy, and that is The Interstings by Meg Wolitzer. This book, I was looking for something like Secret History-esque again, because I was like, I can't reread the Secret History again, but I want that same feeling. And I've seen this book on quite a few lists talking about how it's dark academia or for fans of the Secret History, so I decided to pick it up. It follows this group of young gifted children, gifted in the arts, as they go through basically their entire lives. It's a really big life saga type story, and I will say it did give me Secret History feelings. Not fully, not the way the Secret History does. Nothing tops the Secret History, but it gave me almost as close of a as I felt, even though it's not really a true like dark academia type book. I feel like a lot of the things recommended as dark academia I don't love, or I don't feel like lives up to what dark academia is supposed to be. Like, to me at least, dark academia has to have some critique of academia in it. It can't just be like dark themes set at a school or at the academy or whatever. I'm going on a tangent now. So this is definitely not dark academia, but it gave me secret history feeling, which I'm always searching for. I'm always hunting that secret history feeling. I gave this one 4 stars. I did like it a lot. I was very invested in it while reading it. It took me a bit to get into it, but by the time I hit like that first 25%, I finished the rest in like a day. I was like, this is so good. I really related to the character Jonah, my beloved Jonah. But there were some things I didn't love about it. I wasn't sure if it was like part of the point, but like the way this discusses autism, I didn't really like the tone at which it discusses autism, or like the words it used, like especially for the autistic character they're talking about in this. It's just like, I don't know, it felt very not about an autistic person, but more about how it affects their autism affects everyone else. And it was like, okay, well, I don't love representations like that, but I did like it. I thought it was very like well paced considering how much time spans this book. Yeah, I would recommend check the trigger warnings, and if you love the secret history. The next book I read in 2025 was another William Burroughs, and that is Queer. This is my favorite book of the year so far. I also don't have this one because I lent it out. Again, I'll put a picture somewhere on the screen, but wow, this book is so gorgeous, and I read it at exactly the right time. The way it just like grapples with 2 sides of desire, like in the characters of Lee and Allerton. I think they show 2 sides of desire. One is like giving in completely to your desire, letting your desire control you, and the other is just denying desire all around, not allowing yourself to feel what you feel, and therefore punishing those around you with it. I give this 5 stars, obviously, but it follows William Lee kind of picking up where it left off after Junky, kind of. He's in Mexico City, and he meets this charming young lad named Allerton, Eugene Allerton, and they strike up a little something, and eventually they go to South America together. And we'll get more into Burroughs in South America in one more Burroughs book I've read this year later on. But Queer was just really pulled at your heartstrings. Again, the introduction was fantastic. Like, do not skip an Oliver Harris Burroughs introduction, okay? Just don't do it. You'll regret it. I loved this book so much. I want to reread it already. I've given it away to someone else to read, but once I get it back... Actually, I think I have another person who wants to read my copy too, but eventually I will get to rereading this. It was just amazing. And the movie is amazing too. I've rewatched the movie now, so I've watched it 3 times, and I hope to watch it many more. It's such an underrated movie too. I feel like it didn't make enough noise in any sense, but go watch it. Directed by Luca Guadagnino. Fantastic. The next book I read, I didn't give a rating because I don't really like, I don't know, sometimes if I feel like a book doesn't need a rating, I don't rate it. And that is The End of History. I started reading this for class. I read most of this for class, and then I finished it, the chapters we didn't read together, because I found this very interesting read. I think it really delves into, like, if the subtitle here is Politics in the 21st Century, it tells you how we got here. It gives you like a guide to understanding why we are in the situation we're in right now. Like, what happened to make politics take this like weird, ugly, warped form that it does. Basically, it argues that we're in the end of history. The end of history is kind of something that came about after the Cold War, where it was basically agreed upon neoliberal capitalism, like, won, right? So there was no contestation over ideology, which makes it the end of history, because since there's no debate like this over how we organize society, history is not really happening. It creates kind of this stalemate where everything feels like present. And the end of history is the end of the end is kind of saying that is ending, maybe starting around 2016 in the UK and USA, maybe a little bit different in other places. But I highly suggest reading this if you want to understand how kind of we got here. I will say, like, there are some definitely controversial takes in here. Not everything I totally agree with, but I do think it's really worthwhile. The next book I read, I again don't have a physical copy because I gave this out. It was another book club read, and that is Animal Farm by George Orwell. I gave this 4 stars. I feel like everyone knows what Animal Farm is. It's a very famous, very, very famous book. Most people read it for school. I never read it in school. But it basically follows animals on a farm who kick the farmer out and start running it by themselves, and the consequences of that. It's very heavy-handed in its ideology, in the message it's trying to convey. It's very obvious, I feel, although sometimes I see interpretations of it and I'm like, did we read the same thing? I don't know. But I liked this. Yeah, 4 stars. It wasn't like life-changing for me because it wasn't like ideas I'm not familiar with. You know, it didn't introduce me to something super new, but I did like it. I thought it was clever but heavy-handed, you know, but I recommend. The next book I read, I also don't have a copy of because I borrowed this one from a friend. So, you know, I give out books and I receive some back. But I gave this back, and it is The White Album by Joan Didion. This was my first Didion. I actually have a vlog of me reading this partially, so I'll link that. This was fantastic. Are you kidding me? Oh my god. I gave it 4.5 stars, which for like a collection of this nature is probably the highest I can rate a collection. Maybe I'll be proved wrong one day, but like, it's hard to rate a collection 5 stars because not everything in it is always going to be 5 stars. But I loved this so much. Will not be my last Didion. I already found a copy of The Year of Magical Thinking at a used bookstore, which I've picked up. She has just like such a great way of writing things, and like the stories somehow feel really timeless while being like so soaked in like 1960s, 1970s USA, California. Like it's so seeped with those vibes, but like somehow it's still relevant all these years later and like still so poignant, and she knows how to write. Like, oh, I was reading this and I was like, I will never write this good. Maybe I should just give up. But it was also really inspiring. Like, it was making me want to write in my journal and stuff. So like, not give up at all. It was so beautiful. Highly, highly recommend. The next is another Burroughs, one I finally have a copy of with me. This is The Yage Letters by William Burroughs and Allen Ginsberg. This is kind of an epistolary, also semi-fiction, you know, like fiction, but very much inspired by Burroughs' own life. Again, just like Queer, just like Junky, this kind of picks up from Queer a little bit. Just in the sense that at the end of Queer, he's going to go search for Yage. I mean, he's at the end of Junky too. He's like, Yage. And I think this is kind of like the wrapping up of Yage. His Yage arc, Lee or Burroughs. They're intertwined and meshed characters. This was not my favorite of the burroughs I've read. Oh, the sun's coming out. This is not my favorite of the burroughs I've read. I gave it 3 stars because I still think it was worthwhile. It takes the form of letters sent to Ginsberg. Some of these are letters Ginsberg sent to Burroughs. I thought it was really interesting. I've never been huge into the whole learning about ayahuasca, psychedelics, stuff like that before. And yeah, this one was just, it didn't hit as hard as the other Burroughs. So, still good, still worthwhile. Had some like strange tones at certain points. I don't know, it was like, and it had strange tones, but it is like so realistic to how Westerners like drug tourisming in South America treat the people there. So I thought that was realistic and like a look into that. I don't know what the intention was with that, but it was worthwhile in the sense that it kind of provides a closure to Queer and Junky as well. And I don't think it'll be my last Burroughs by any means. I have Naked Lunch on my shelves and his letters, both with, I think with introductions by Oliver Harris. Naked Lunch might not have an Oliver Harris introduction. This one does. I really like the introduction to this. Might have actually even been my favorite part, really. I really liked how Burroughs is described and like the context provided, especially for this novel. The next book I read is a bit of a different tone shift from the other ones I feel like I've read so far this year, but that is Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. This follows Haymitch. This is Haymitch's book. I never thought she would actually do the Haymitch book, but she did have something to say, and I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. Not probably my least favorite of all the Hunger Games, but that does not mean it was not good. It was fantastic. Just, I thought the original trilogy, obviously, peak freaking literature. And then I thought Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes was a little better than this. But I do like what she was saying with it. It just felt like, I don't know. It didn't feel fully believable to me. It might be because I'm getting older too, but I reread all the Hunger Games after reading this, and that still hit as hard. So it might not be, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but this just didn't feel like I feel like it didn't fit into the world as well. Some of the like cameos and stuff felt a little like shoved in there, you know what I mean? But like still really, really good. Like I don't know, I'm not trying to criticize it that hard. I don't know, I'm focusing on the negatives so much. I really liked what she had to say about propaganda and like AI. I feel like this was a commentary on AI a lot. I don't want to spoil anything, so I won't get into anything, but definitely if you're AI critical or if you really like AI, maybe read this with very open eyes. Kind of look into that as well as propaganda. It has a lot to say about our current state through fiction, which I always appreciate. The next book I read was another book club book. This was one I've been wanting to get to for so long. A very anticipated read for me, and that is The Door by Magda Szabo. This basically follows the relationship between 2 women, Magda and Emirates. Very different women in class backgrounds, and this is all happening in Hungary, I think post-war Hungary, and very complicated relationship dynamic, which I always love. I love a like almost mother-daughter. This is not mother-daughter, but it feels like mother stand-in, daughter stand-in, if you get what I'm saying. Like they feel like they have that maternal relationship. Since this was so highly anticipated for me, like I had such high expectations, which I think kind of damned me in the end, because like it didn't reach all of what I thought it would give me. I was also in a reading slump before reading this, but I didn't feel super slumpy trying to read this. Like I enjoyed reading it. I gave it 3.75 stars. Just because, I don't know, there were parts that just felt like I wasn't getting everything I wanted, but I can't put into words what I did want more than what it already was. I don't want it to be my last Magda Szabo. I think there's a few other books like Abigail and stuff by her that I want to read. We'll see when I get to them. I did really appreciate the relationship between these two women. That's always a theme I love. It's always a theme I'm looking to read more of. This is the last book I will be going over in this video. The Hobbit by j.r.r. Tolkien. Yeah, this is, I think I might have read, it smells so good, sorry. I'm gonna take breaks to sniff this book. It has that beautiful old book scent. This is my first time reading The Hobbit. I might have read it in childhood, I don't remember. I read a lot in childhood, so I do not remember all the books I read, but I read a lot of like children's classics, kind of like this. But I have a physical copy here, but I did actually listen to it on audio. I did like it. I liked it. But like, I didn't love it, you know? It might have been like the same kind of feeling that I had from The Door. I don't necessarily love j.r.r. Tolkien's narration style. It might also just be because, you know, I'm older. It does feel like it's written for children, you know? So I gave it 3.5 stars. I enjoyed going on an adventure. A cute little adventure. Meeting Gollum. Made me want to cry. I definitely will be reading the full Lord of the Rings and soon. I haven't decided if I want to read that one also on audio or maybe I would like it better reading it on the page. I haven't been huge, like normally I was like such a huge audiobook listener like last year, 2 years ago, but lately I've just been really into the page. Not as much audiobooks. I still listen to quite a few, don't worry. But I feel like if it's a book I'm really anticipating, it's one I want to read physically these days. So I definitely will be reading more Tolkien. It just didn't become like a new all-time favorite. The longerness, the longer, like more epic nature of the Lord of the Rings series might appeal to me more. Smelling it again. Yeah, that's my favorite part about this book actually, is the smell. I rate the smell like 6 out of 5 stars. Here's a stack of some of them, since I don't have a ton of them because I give them all away. What can I say? I'm so generous, you guys. No, I will be getting those books back, the ones that I gave away, but here they are. Thank you so much for watching The Library of Phoebe. I will see you again very soon. Can't wait to speak again. See you next time. Bye.